A recent survey by OCTA Research revealed that most Filipinos are against military intervention in political disputes. Conducted from September 25 to 30, the survey found that 70% disagreed with calls for the armed forces of the Philippines to participate in the current political situation. Only 5% supported intervention, while 22% were undecided. The survey was conducted amid reports that some retired military officers were pushing for a coup to unseat the Marcos administration.
And to talk more about this survey, we are joined by OCTA Research Fellow Dr. Guido David. Good morning. Thank you for joining us again, Doc.
Yes, hi, good morning, Angela and Diego. Good morning din to our viewers and listeners.
Okay, interesting the survey shows 70%, no, they oppose military intervention. But usually kasi historically in the past, pag galit ang mga taong bayan sa isang leader, pag lumalabas daw ang survey noon, sinasabi nila sana makailam na ang military. So what do you think is contributes to this the response of the survey?
Well, I don't think na galit sila necessarily sa leader, galit sila sa corruption. And I think that this sentiment is echoed in the protests and the rallies that we are seeing. So although people want accountability, people want jail time for those who are accountable, and people want restitution of public funds, we generally want to preserve our democracy, and we want, or rather, we favor change to come from civilian supremacy, democratic stability, and constitutional governance. So those should come with this support for the changes that we want to happen. So we, or at least the public, seems to reject military intervention in politics.
So in other words, kumbaga kasi right now, what you're saying is ang galit ng mga taong bayan ngayon is towards a systemic corruption, no? Rather than towards a political leader.
Exactly. So not necessarily a political leader. They don't want to overthrow the government per se. And in fact, some people are calling for just electoral reform. So let's vote for people who have a clean public record. So let's select our candidates wisely sa upcoming 2028 elections. In fact, may nag-suggest a few weeks ago ng like a snap elections, although this is not constitutional, and this does not seem to be supported by majority of the Filipinos. Also, kasi the reason we favor some more peaceful method, if we remember, no, 1986, we had a military coup, and even after 86, no, nagkaroon tayo ng mga coup d'etat. It always affects our economy, and I think majority of the public don't want economic instability. So we prefer. That's why we prefer something na more in a mas peaceful way towards electoral reform.
Right. It's good that you mentioned that. Because I was gonna ask that, Prof, regarding yung, let's say, for example, one of the factors, aside dun sa nabanggit mo kanina, isa din would be yung thinking ng mga Pinoy na nagkaroon na ng martial law before and didn't do well. Diba? So, bakit isusuportahan pa namin yun ngayon? Tama ba?
Right. I don't think the public wants martial law at this time. So, we're not at the point naman na, things are out of control. In fact, the government is, taking steps towards fixing the problems. So may ICI tayo. People wanted more accountability or more transparency sa ICI, and I think they responded. Gagawin nilang public yung mga hearings, but I think it's going to take a little time lang din. From what I hear, the ICI is under understaffed din. They only have a few members, and they're tackling a lot of issues, and they're going to get a lot of data. And this will take time, and that's why we have to be more patient. Pero wag natin kalimutan yung problema. And I think at this point, hindi natin kakalimutan ito. This will be on our minds for the next year, maybe years, leading up to 2028. So there will definitely need to be some changes and some people accounting for these corruption charges.
Well, I also agree. No, none of us like to have economic instability by overthrowing a government. But could it be one reason also why Filipinos oppose intervention is they know if you overthrow this government, the next in command would be the vice president who is unpopular to at least 50% of the other side of the electoral fence. Now, we have at least very close ties with both groups, the Marcos and Duterte administration. And you have the yellow or the pinks, majority of them are allied with the current admin. So parang naka-stalemate tayo. Parang we don't like what's happening and it's happening under this president. But then again, I'd rather have this president than have the vice president. Could it be yun ang dahilan?
Yeah, we did ask the question kung anong reason sila, but that's definitely possible. And scoring through social media posts, yung mga nakikita ko sa mga comments, maraming nga parang ganyan yung feelings nila or sentiments nila na they don't, they're also scared of the alternatives. So that's why, the electoral reform will have to come peacefully. The Marcos administration will see a change din on by 2028. We'll be electing a new president according to our constitution. And, people want to go through that process. Pero in the meantime, ayaw lang naman nila yung nangyayari doon sa corruption, doon sa flood control, doon sa ghost projects, and gusto lang naman nilang isoli yung pera. They don't want a major change naman sa democracy. In fact, we have a survey probe na nagsabi na 80% still want democracy. So they want the democratic process. Only 18% do not. I don't know what they want to switch to. Pero 80%, 8 out of 10 Filipinos still want to preserve our democracy. And our democratic process calls for peaceful means. Itong mga peaceful rallies na ginagawa natin.
Well,
in relation lang to that, before you mentioned the 2028. Now, in the past two elections, last election kay PRRD, we had the platform of against drugs, something tangible. Prior to that, we had another platform, very specific also. I think this was kay Pinoy, no? Do you think now we're shifting from a specific platform back to a generic platform of anti-corruption given its popularity right now? Well,
it should not be generic because, corruption and transparency are still very important. In fact, when we talk to political analysts, what are the root causes of our problems, kung bakit na papag-iwanan na tayo sa Southeast Asia, Vietnam is overtaking us. Two of the three problems cited, two of the top three are corruption and yung political dynasties. And I think a person or a candidate who runs on these platforms will get a significant amount of support, in my opinion.
Right, but contrary to what Diego's question earlier regarding dun sa could it be na ayaw nila kasi yung papalit si VP Sara, but based on your research or based on your survey, merong regional differences at ang highest opposition dito at 79% would come from Mindanao. Diba? So how do you explain that?
Right. Well, there's also a difference between, a coup d'etat. Kasi technically, if it's a coup d'etat, they could install anyone. The military could, tulad ng nangyari no 1986, if it's a military coup, essentially the military will be the ones taking over, and they can select who will replace the president. So that's why siguro they're also concerned about that. They might install someone, more someone closer to the military, someone with maybe that's why. Again, we didn't ask that question sa as a follow-up sa survey. So answers could vary, but that could be one of the explanation kung bakit sa Mindanao mataas yung resistance against military intervention.
All right. But interestingly, majority of adult Filipinos, based on your survey din, Prof, majority of adult Filipinos express high trust and satisfaction with the performance of the AFP. Pero itong pinag-uusapan natin dito, pinagkakatiwalaan sila pero ayaw nilang makialam ang AFP sa mga political issues. Ganun ba yung nung divide?
Exactly, yeah, right. And it's good you point that out, Angela. Na hindi sila, they don't want military intervention, not because wala silang tiwala sa military. On the other hand, mataas nga yung tiwala nila sa military because the military is doing its job protecting our sovereign rights, our freedom. They're protecting us against mga terrorists, counterinsurgents. So it's doing its job. Pero ayaw na nila ma-involve yung military sa political affairs of the country.
But why do you think there's a need to conduct a survey regarding this, Prof?
Well, that's a good question. I think from what we hear, minsan kasi, there are a few who may mga nagpa-protest, may mga groups, and they have a very loud voice. So sometimes we have to know, is this opinion of the majority? And the survey shows na it's actually, in fact, the minority lang who want military intervention or a coup, and the majority favor a more peaceful means of change.
Well, akala ko kasi kasama yung mga chismis na narinig natin ng mga kudeta, 'di ba? Yung mga retired general daw na gustong i-unseat. Kasama rin.
Kasama yan.
Actually, kasama yan, yes. That's why siguro, that's why this question was inspired. So that we want to assure the public that this is not what the public wants.
I saw a figure there, lastly on my part, I saw a figure there, 22% are undecided. Now, that's quite a significant number, no? If you're talking about military intervention, do we have any data as to who are these 22%? What demographic or saan sila nanggagaling?
Yes, we actually have a breakdown. So it's higher in certain areas. For example, Region 2, for some reason, it's actually higher. Yung mga undecided is like 65%. And yeah, so there are regions na it's higher. Even Region 5 sa Bicol region, it's at 34%. And then Region 7 sa Central Visayas at 30%. So may geographic discrepancies or disparities that we're seeing. Region 9 also 21%, not as high. But yun nga, it's not the same for each part of the country. In Metro Manila, for example, 7% lang nag-agree with the military intervention, and in sa Cordillera region, 0% agreed with AFP intervention. So may mga parts where they really don't want military intervention. So we saw that in the survey.
Well, as always, very interesting insights. Thank you for your time. OCTA Research Fellow Dr. Guido David for joining us on News and Views.
Thank you as always, Angela and Diego.